Yeah, well, stealing this from other people, it's like the AI you use today is by far the worst AI you're ever going to use. And that's pretty clear. Ray Amara talks about this idea that we tend to overestimate in the short term and underestimate the impact in the long term. And I think that's very true. There's a sort of a level of expectation around AI in the short term, which is probably going to be missed. Actually, there's lots of companies racing to think, how can I apply AI in my business? And in some cases, it's perhaps too early for them to do it, or they're going to use systems that aren't actually very useful, and people will go, but then the risk is that they miss how it might completely change their industry. I think a great example is electricity. Electricity is probably the biggest economic impact, bigger than steam engines. And the thing that made the difference was not light bulbs, which is what electricity was originally rolled out to do, to remove these smelly gas lights. It was actually electric engine. And the fact that an electric engine could be put next to a machine, and you could then put the machine anywhere in the factory that it needed to go, so you could then lay out the factory to match the manufacturing process, and then with replaceable parts you got mass production, and from mass production we got our consumer society, and that period created the most economic wealth. They didn't just automate in the way they did in the first phase of the Industrial Revolution. They just automated the machines, the weaving machines, and replaced the humans to get a productivity boost, which pushed the economic outcome, the economic value, into the owners of the machines, into the owners of the mills, and away from the workers through the consumer society that sort of built up, which almost seems counterintuitive in some ways. But wages got better, there were better jobs generally everywhere, wages went up, and more wealth was distributed. IT computers have been used primarily to automate parts of people's jobs, take people out of the system. It hasn't changed necessarily how people do their jobs or how the industries work. And as a result, we're now back to 26% in the hands of the top 1%. So, is AI going to make that worse, or is it going to be like electricity, where it allows us to completely reshape